Right. Good morning, guys. Today's class is regarding centrifugal pumps. We are already done with the reciprocating pump and how a reciprocating pump works and what is the work done and efficiency or power of a reciprocating pump. Now we are into centrifugal pump. How can I define the centrifugal pump? So I'll give a what is a small introduction of what we learned till now. We are done with the pumps part. Pumps are something, it is a mechanical device which converts mechanical energy to some hydraulic energy. That means if you give pump some sort of an source or energy, it will convert the mechanical energy to a hydraulic energy, that is pump. We see different types of pumps and positive displacement pumps. We are done with the reciprocating part. Now we are onto the rotary pump, which are centrifugal pumps. The name itself defining it as these centrifugal pumps uses the centrifugal force to employ or to lift the liquid from lower level to higher level. See here, the centrifugal pumps are the machines which employ the centrifugal force which lifts the liquid from lower level to higher level by developing a pressure. Centrifugal force, we are applying some centrifugal force and we are lifting the water from lower level to higher level. What is this centrifugal force means? Force moving away from center is defined as centrifugal force. Oh, sorry. Force coming towards center is defined as centrifugal force. We have two types of forces, centripetal force and centrifugal force. Centripetal force is moving away from center. Centrifugal force is coming towards the center. So that is what centrifugal force is. Now we are employing this centrifugal force and bringing the water from lower level to higher level. That is what centrifugal pump is. We have four important components of a centrifugal pump, which are impeller, casing, suction pipe with footwall and strainer, and delivery pipe. Impeller is the rotating part of a member. As we are mentioning that we should employ some centrifugal force here. To employ that centrifugal force, we need a rotating member. So the rotating by rotating only, we can create the centrifugal force. We can create some pressure difference. So by that, water at the lower level can be raised to the upper level. That's what the impeller works for. Casing is something which protects the pump or the impeller from the outside or external effects. Uh, Suction pipe means the pipe which we suck water from. Footwall is meant for once the water is sucked into the pipe, they cannot go back to the sump again. Footwall is something which only let one directional flow of water. We can't go in the other direction. You can see footfalls in the wells in villages. Strainer is something which cleans the water without any impurities. Delivery pipe, the name itself defining it, is delivering some water to the desired place. Those are the four important components. Now we'll see the diagram of the sketch of a schematic of a centrifugal pump. Now this is our impeller part which starts rotating here. So this rotation creates centrifugal force because our main motto is to create the centrifugal force. So this centrifugal force is creating force towards center. We are creating force towards center. So by creating this force, what happens here is, right, by creating this force here, what we are by creating some centrifugal force there. When this is rotating, by you are creating some centrifugal force, right? By creating some centrifugal force, water from the sump starts rising here. Now what happened to this starts, the water from the sump will start rising. How this exactly happen means we are creating some pressure difference there. By creating some pressure difference, we are lifting the water from lower level to high level, and this is our suction pipe. This footwall is meant, as I already explained, footwall is meant for only one directional flow. That means water from here, if we are moving upwards, cannot again come downwards. This is the wall in which water can only be allowed to flow in only one direction. So water is lifted in the suction pipe. Here you have a vacuum gauge which will measure the pressure at which the water is coming, and it entered into the impeller or the casing part. Now here in the casing, this is completely rotating again. So the water which is lifted due to centrifugal force entered into the casing, and now it is sending back into the delivery pipe. Because it attracted it towards it, and it is sending it again to the delivery pipe. Here you have a delivery flange. Through that you have a pressure gauge. It also measures with what pressure the water is delivered to the tank. So this is delivery pipe, this is delivery gauge, and this is delivery valve. By opening the delivery valve, you will let the water to flow into the delivery tank. This is what exactly happening is. But to drive this, we need a shaft, because to rotate this, to have a centrifugal force, we need a shaft motor driven by an oil engine. That means you take a simple motor example in your house or in a villages or at the farm. You will have some electrical supply given there. If you switch on it, the electrical supply will reach to the motor and the motor starts rotating. Or if you take any engine by running with diesel or in any petrol, there the fuel is diesel or petrol, you start the motor and its motor starts running by, you see there is a fan which is rotating inside the motor, which is a centrifugal, by which centrifugal force is created. It pulls water or it sucks water from lower level to reaching to the higher level. This is what the diagram actually is. This is our level, the rise of water level. This is center line of the pump. This is eye, the center part is known as eye of the impeller. You are having some casing. So I think you are clear with what its main process is. Here we have two types of heads, suction head and a delivery head. Suction head is something, it is a distance from the sump level to the center of line of the pump. This is sump level to center of line of the pump is suction head. And delivery head is center level of the pump to the discharge level, or the delivery level is denoted as the delivery head. So we have two heads, suction head and delivery head. Suction head is from sump level to the center of line of the pump. Delivery head is distance from the center of line to the discharge level, or the delivery level. Obviously, define what are these parts are. Impeller, I already mentioned you, it is a rotating part of a centrifugal pump. It consists of series of backward vanes in it. Vanes or blades, we can call them. This is the best example. If you see any exhaust fans will have some vanes which are turned in a backward way. The impeller is obviously the same thing. It is mounted on a shaft which is connected to an electric motor, because we need the blade to be rotated. So for the blade to be rotated, it should be definitely attached to the motor, which is the shaft, which is in turn attached to an electric motor. So by that it will start rotating. So impeller is the rotating part which creates a centrifugal force there. Next one is casing, which is similar to what we learned in the reaction turbine, the casing here. It is an airtight passage which does not allow any unwanted pressure differences by air leaking or the water leaking to outside. So impeller, the pressure created by the impeller will be maintained in the casing without any leakage. So you are designed this in such a way that the kinetic energy of water discharged at the outlet of an impeller is converted into pressure energy before the water leaves the casing, right? We should design the casing in such a way that the kinetic energy of water discharge, because if you're discharging water through a pipe, it is moving with high velocity. That means it is kinetic energy, right? So the kinetic energy discharged at the outlet of the impeller is converted to, we are converting that kinetic energy to the pressure energy before water leaves the casing, the delivery pipe. So before water leaves the delivery pipe, what we should do? We should convert the kinetic energy to pressure energy. So we should design the casing in such a way that, so that we can convert the kinetic energy to pressure energy, because in most cases we don't want water always to go very fast, but we need the impact of water. If you take any hydel power plant, if water is flowing with high speed and it what we say the uh, impinges on the turbine blade, we start the turbine blade is rotating. There, the main key is not about the velocity; it is also about the pressure with which it is imparting the blade. So pressure is also important. So we need to convert the kinetic energy to the pressure energy. Okay, what are basic purposes for casing? Sir, it will guide the water to the impeller. It converts partially the kinetic energy to pressure energy, which I just mentioned you. We have different types of casing here. The first one is volute casing. We have volute casing. We also have some vortex casing. What is this volute and vortex casing? It's volute casing in which is surrounds the impeller. That means it is a spiral type which gradually increases. That means, let me say, it is a spiral form. I think you know what is spiral thing. You have seen the spiral binding part, right? The spiral part. Oh, this is our spiral part. This is, I think you know the spiral thing. No, no, water, the casing will be in the form of a spiral thing, and we will have a gradual increase of water flow in the impeller. That means it is a spiral type in which flow gradually increases from impeller outlet area to the delivery pipe. This is an impeller. Here you have the suction. Here you have the delivery. Water entered it here. Bottom tank, this is a spiral type in which flow gradually increases from the impeller outlet to delivery. That means water leaving the impeller is impeller outlet area to the delivery. That means water flow is increasing from this point to this point. Why? Because of the spiral nature. How this happens is area is increased in a gradually decrease its velocity. By increasing the area, what happens there is the velocity decreases. So then the pressure increases because what I said, our main task of the casing is to partially convert the kinetic energy to pressure energy. That means kinetic energy itself, it is some velocity, right? Now we should decrease the velocity. How we are decreasing is we have some spiral nature in which the area is increasing from impeller to the delivery pipe. So by increasing the area, the velocity is decreased. So by increasing the pressure, this is what exactly the volute casing is. But here you have losses due to eddy losses. We call them as eddy losses because of this changes in the area. You will have losses called eddy losses, which are also known as eddy currents. Now the next one is vortex casing. What is this vortex casing? Vortex is obviously provided between the impeller and the volute chamber. Volute, I already mentioned that this is provided in between. It is a circular chamber which is provided between the impeller and the volute. That means if you see, this is the outer line is our volute, because if you see the area is increasing, the area here is different to here, and which is different to here. If you see, if it goes on, the area is increasing. Why it is increasing means we need to decrease the velocity. So if velocity is decreased, we can increase the pressure. That is the reason for volute. But in between this impeller and the volute, we have a circular casing which is known as vortex. So it is a circular chamber in between the impeller and the volute. Right? Why we introduced the circular chamber is to minimize the losses due to eddies. As I mentioned here, we have some eddy losses here because as an area is increasing, it will start circulating. The water starts circulating there itself. That what we call eddy current. To minimize that losses, we created a circular chamber which is known as vortex casing. This is the second type of casing. The third one is casing which have some guide blades with it. If you see, this is the casing. This is impeller here. Right? We have some blades around it. We have some blades around it. The process itself is the same thing. That means the impeller starts rotating and the water will get sucked and it will left to the delivery pipe. But the difference is you have an impeller, but onto the impeller you have some blades. You have some guide blades there. Why we are surrounding a series of guide plates mounted on the ring here is the the blades are designed in such a way that water from the impeller enter enter the guide vanes without any shock. If you see, if anything is rotating and if you are pulling water to it, there may be a chance that water may enter with high speed and high velocity and impulse it. That is what shock actually happens. So to decrease that, if you have some blades with some angle, that can minimize the what we say the amount of shock created by the water on the impeller. So that is the main reason why we use the casing, which is casing with the guide blade. So we have seen three types of casings. First one is volute, the second one is vortex, and third one is casing with the guide blades. Okay. The suction pipe, the part which the third part where we are seeing the components of centrifugal pump. The first one is impeller, which we have done. The second one is casing, which I explained you the three types of casing, and third one is suction pipe and the footwall. I think from the diagram, the schematic, it is okay for you that it is what is suction pipe and what is a footwall. Suction pipe is something which sucks the water from the sump and which reaches to the impeller. Footwall is a wall which only allows water to flow in one direction. There is no other way down. You have only one direction upwards. Strainer is something uh, which filter or which not allow impurities to form to that. We have major impurities in the ground level like dust and also so many things. We are not allowing that to pass through. The strainer is meant for that. So that is our third part. And the fourth one is the delivery pipe, which is one end is connected to the outlet of the pump and the other end is connected to the delivery or the tank which you are talking about. That is what delivery pipe is. So these are three three, what to say, four the working components of centrifugal pump, and the working of centrifugal pump, which I obviously mentioned. I'm already again explaining you one more time. We have an impeller which is rotating part of the pump which starts rotating. So it creates some centrifugal force there. Due to that, the water from the lower level creates some pressure difference and it starts moving up, and we have a foot valve there which only let the water to flow in one direction. We also have a strainer which will clean or which not allow unwanted things to flow in the pipe. So from suction pipe we reach it to the impeller. The impeller is again rotating, then we'll go to the delivery and we'll deliver it to the tank. This is what happening. Okay, that is what working of a centrifugal pump is actually. Now work done. We should find the work done of a centrifugal pump. How much work is done by the centrifugal pump? We can define this by further by drawing some velocity triangles, which we already are very familiar when with the Pelton wheel and Kaplan and Francis turbine. But here we should once again see what exactly happening there. So by drawing the velocity triangles at inlet and outlet of the impeller, the same way as explained for turbines. So now we should draw the velocity triangles for inlet and outlet of an impeller. We can find the work done of centrifugal pump. What we are doing is the water enters the impeller at center. This is impeller. It is rotating, so water will definitely enter at the center. That means it enters radially. There the angle is 90 degrees. Right? If water is entering anything right, it's 90 degrees. So the whirl velocity here, VW1, which you are very familiar with the turbines, is 0, right? And it leaves out periphery. Okay. For drawing velocity triangles, some notations are very important. Now we'll see what actually it is. Now this is velocity triangles. Velocity triangle diagrams for impeller. Now this is our inlet velocity triangle. This is an outlet velocity triangle. These two are we are very familiar with these two things in the turbines. We are drawn for Pelton wheels and we are drawn for Francis and Kaplan turbines. Once go through that, this is our blade. Now water is impelling and we are drawn with the two velocity triangles. I'll explain what the terms there are. We have V1 and V2, which is velocity of jet or water at inlet and outlet. VR1 and VR2, which is velocity, relative velocity between water and at inlet and outlet. VW1 is the whirl velocity at inlet and outlet. VF1 is the flow velocity at inlet and outlet. These are some notations there from the velocity triangles. Alpha and theta, we have two angles where alpha is the jet angle between angle at inlet, and this is vane angle at the inlet. That means it is an angle between or made by the absolute velocity or the jet velocity v1 at the inlet with the direction of motion of wave. That means the jet which is moving is making an angle with the direction of motion is alpha. Theta is an angle which is made by the relative velocity at the inlet. So alpha is the jet velocity, angle made by the jet velocity. So theta is the angle made by the relative velocity. The same way we have beta and phi. Beta is something which is at outlet relating to alpha. Phi is something which is related to outlet related to theta. So this is what we say velocity triangles and their notations. And now we should find the work done for the centrifugal pump. Right now we should find the work done per second. How you are writing is work done by the radially inward flow reaction turbine per second. Okay, why? Because we are explaining that pump, the centrifugal pump is very similar to the reaction turbine. So if you want to find the work done for a centrifugal pump, we need to write about the work done for a reaction turbine. But there is a problem here is we're having a minus term indicating here. Why we are indicating a minus term here is because we are moving water against its gravity, right? That's the reason why we have a minus term here. So the work done with the radial inward flow reaction turbine is this is rho Q, VW1 U1 minus rho VW to U2, multiplying with minus, and it will be VW to U2 minus VW1 U1. And we know that rho can be written as W by G. So WQ by G, VW to U2 minus VW1 U1. We already mentioned that whirl velocity at inlet is 0. So multiply that, we have rho Q VW to U2. This is work done by centrifugal pump per second. Now we should see work done by the impeller of what on the water per unit weight water. Now this is 1 by G VW to U2 minus VW1 U1. So because the same thing, This value is unit. The same thing, but the WQ value is unit because we are talking about the unit weight of water. So this WQ value became unit. So 1. So 1 by G VW to U2 minus VW1 U1. As again, this VW1 is 0. We have 1 by G VW to U2. The power output here, the power is nothing but work by time. The same thing we are going for work by time. If you see see this is the thing, right? WQ G G VW to U2, but we are writing some marks. Okay, this is power output. So discharge is anytime area into velocity. Velocity is the relative velocity, so flow velocity Vf1. Area is something pi d into B1. This is for inlet. If you want for outlet, go for pi d2 B2 Vf2. Okay, that is our flow. Now we'll see the definitions of heads. We have suction head. It is a vertical height between the sump level to the center of line of the pipe, which is denoted by Hs. I have shown in the diagram. Delivery head is a vertical distance from the center of line of the impeller or the pump to the delivery tank or the discharge level. That is what delivery head is, which is denoted by Hd. Static head is a total head or the net head of these two, which is Hs plus Hd. Okay, we are also done these things in the reciprocating pump. Now the manometric head is, this is the head against which we should do the work, right? Because propelling the water from ground level to the high level is something we should do work which is against something. So manometric head is defined as head against which the centrifugal pump should do some work. That is our HM, H suffix M. How can I define this? Is head imparted by the loss, head imparted by the impeller to loss of the head there. So head imparted by the impeller is VW to U2 by G. The previous section we shown that minus loss of head. If loss of head is 0, we have VW U2 by G. This is our manometric head. Next one we are seeing is the efficiencies, right? The first efficiency here we are seeing is manometric efficiency. Any efficiency is always output by input. Here we are saying manometric efficiency as the manometric head to the head imparted by the impeller. Manometric head is HM. Head imparted by the impeller is VW to U2 by G. So you have a formula for manometric efficiency. So the same for mechanical efficiency is, how can I define a mechanical efficiency is, this is also output by input. Here basic concept is the power developed by the impeller to the liquid to power input of the input power shaft. That means output by input, the power developed by the impeller divided by actual input of power being given to the shaft. That is what our mechanical efficiency is. The power developed which we are already derived, it is WQG by VW. The shaft power is some shaft power. So divide those two, we'll have our mechanical efficiency. The next one is our overall efficiency. It is a ratio of power output of the pump to power input of the pump shaft. Okay. We also have a formula for overall efficiency, and we know overall efficiency is equal to manometer efficiency into mechanical efficiency. This is what exactly our centrifugal pump is. In the next topic, we'll see the problems on the centrifugal pump. Thank you.